In this video, I'll go over how to submit an online application through the Cove Springs public portal. This is the landing page of our public portal. You can see I'm already signed in as the name on my account is reflected in the upper right corner. If you haven't signed in, you'll need to do so to proceed. Next, click Go under My Portal. There you'll see 4 available options, which will matter once you need to make a payment, request inspections, or review your active applications. For now, we're just going to click Apply. Select the appropriate category for your application. For this training, we're applying for a building permit and we'll select Building. The system will populate all the different permit types available. You'll need to select the relevant type. Treat this like a standardized test and review all options prior to selecting one. You wouldn't want to select electric, commercial, new if you're doing electric work in an existing building. That falls under electric commercial permit type. For this training, I'm going to select residential addition. When you click the button for a permit type, if it has a description available, a blue eye will appear. Click that to read the description and make sure it matches what you need. The residential addition permit type should be selected if you're adding to an existing residential structure or site. So you're adding square footage to the existing footprint or adding a separate structure like a shed. This permit type can include renovations to the existing structures completed as part of the job. You can click Got it, and if that's what you need, you're going to click Next. On this screen, you're going to search for the address that you need. If you're in Chrome and you have autofill turned on, you're going to notice that your autofill is covering up the system's suggestions. Personally, I'm going to search for what I know I need, and even though I can't see it, select it because I know it's correct. If you're typing an address though, and the system is not able to find it, consider typing less of the address. For example, 305 North Palmetto. It's not going to bring that up because most of the system doesn't contain the north-south prefixes. If, however, you just type 305, it's going to populate that as an option. You can also type 305 Palmetto. If you don't have an address or your address isn't working, you can try to enter a parcel number instead. That option was available on our previous screen just above the address entry point. Before moving on, I also want to point out that this blurb up here does explain how to figure out if a parcel or address is located within city limits. The property appraiser site is generally the best way to determine it by looking at the tax district, which for Cove Springs is 002. Now we've reviewed our entry, it's exactly what I need. I'm going to click Save and Continue. The portal has now taken me to my project page. I have not yet submitted my application to the city. Right now is when we review the project page and complete any additional necessary items in order to submit the application. So let's get started. First, we need to describe the purpose of this permit. You can also put the same information in the name box if you'd like. Click Save. While we're here, I did also want to note you do receive an application number when you initially submit, but note it is just an application number. Each section is going to tell you something about itself, what it is, and why it's there, or if it's done already. Related permits are not going to always be present. It's something that will show up if you might have additional permits required for the type of work that you're doing. In this situation, these permits wouldn't be applied for until this permit is already issued and the trade contractors are ready to come in and apply. The permit contacts are showing as done already. If you need to add an additional contact, now is the time to do so. the permit details are not listed as complete. So we'll need to open that up and see what we need to do. Most of these are not required, but if you have the information, it's incredibly beneficial to us. All it's requiring at this time is total square feet, the job cost, and the building height. In this type of permit, building height is more important. For a shed or accessory structure like that, we are technically just doing an addition to the house, so it doesn't matter as much, but the house height is what we'd be looking for there. We'll save once we're done. Took a little bit to refresh, but now it's showing that the permit details are done. Under the submittals, you're going to see that there are required submittals, non-required submittals, and submittals which will be required prior to closure of the permit at the very least. For example, we need the permit application up front, but the NOC isn't required to be submitted until inspections are being requested. At that time, we need that before we can go out to the site. Meanwhile, the HOA or ARB approval is not going to be required at the time of application because it's not going to be required for every permit type or every permit application in the city. Instead, we leave it optional so that if you know your project requires it, such as it's in Magnolia Point or Magnolia West, you can submit it. But if it's not, you can ignore it. To upload documents, you're going to hit upload to the right, add file, select your file, begin upload, and then close that. As needed, you can add more than one document type to a submittal line. Even when it's not required, you can go ahead and upload something if you have it and know it will be needed. And apparently a lesson I've just taught myself as well as you is that if you try to go too fast, the system cannot recognize it. So I'm re-uploading the HOA approval. So I've gotten all my initially required documents in there. I don't need to do anything under permit parcels, and I don't need to do anything under permit conditions. The permit conditions listed here are going to be the generally required conditions that you would always need to adhere to. You'll want to check back after your permit is approved to see if any additional conditions have been added. Your permit fees are currently going to state $0. You'll see on the left that there's an estimate of what will be charged, but nothing is due at this time. This estimate may also change when we review the permit in the back office as we update what is needed. And initially, you're going to see the generally required inspections for the permit type you've selected. After review in the back office and after approval, we may delimit this down to exactly what is required, such as if you only need a building final, we'll delete all the others. Now though, you can see your application is complete and it is ready to be submitted. So we can go ahead and click Submit Application. Of particular importance are going to be the affidavits and warnings down here. Make sure to read through those and then submit. Now that you've submitted, note you still have an application number. You can no longer edit your project name or the purpose. You can no longer add contacts or edit details. One thing you can do though is come in and upload files. So let's say I got the NOC recorded after I submitted this, so I can go in and upload. We do receive notice when you upload a file, so we can go ahead and mark that as received. Now you're just waiting on us to complete our sufficiency review and any other necessary reviews of the permit. If you head back to your landing page the next time you log in and go to My Portal, you'll see you can view your active applications. You've got one in there. It's currently listed as submitted. And you can click on it to get back to that project page. Once you've submitted your application, a sufficiency review is completed by office staff. If it's an over-the-counter permit type, we will, and if it's ready for approval, we'll turn that around pretty fast and you'll receive notice that it's ready for payment. If it's a permit type that needs to be reviewed, the sufficiency review will be completed and you'll notice your permit status changes to in review, which would be here. And once all reviews are completed and no additional information is required, it'll change to ready for issuance. That's when you would go ahead and go in and pay. On that My Portal page where we just were, you can see you can pay directly from there. You can also go into the application to make payment. Once you've paid, that permit will be issued. When that permit is issued, you'll see in the notes section that you can print the permit. If there are plans with it, you'll also see the approved plans available for download.